I'm so confused. Why doesn't this film have a Metacritic score? This is Upon Entry. It's from a directing duo who I struggle to remember their names, but I'm going to go with Alejandro and Sebastian. Um, and this was in contention for the Independent Spirit Awards. It is uh, it's credited as being a 2022 film, which is fine because a lot of films are, and then it's because they premiered at a festival in 2022 and got released later. But it's so weird that not a single critic has seen this and it's up for Spirit Awards consideration. Like, how does this not have a Metacritic score? Why? No one? No one has seen this in Metacritic? Really? Um, it's bizarre. Anyway, I find that to be like ridiculous. Like somebody is not doing their job. There has to be somebody whose job it is to make sure they watch Spirit nominees and they're also in the Metacritic. Anyway, um, this is a film that is, I would say, predominantly in Espanol, which is okay because me hablo un poco español. Un poco español. Um, yeah, it didn't have audio description, and I'm a blind film critic, so that was tough. However, plus plus size on that is its runtime is amazing. It's also a fairly contained drama slash. We don't use the term suspense anymore. We go straight to thriller. You know what I'm saying? Like we go straight to thriller, and then people think of Seven and stuff like that. It's not like that. It's suspense, though. It is absolutely. There is um, sort of like a barrier, like a threshold that our uh, main two characters have to cross, and there's suspense in which whether or not they will cross it. I don't want to spoil the whole movie. It's only an hour and 17 minutes long, so if you have an opportunity to see it, you should. I sat through the whole thing, and I used it sort of as an exercise, again, since it doesn't have audio description, in trying to follow the Spanish and trying to figure out what it was they were talking about. And in some scenes I did. I picked up actually a lot more than I thought. There was one time when one of the inquisitors was asking whether or not they had had children, and was surprised they hadn't. It was like, no sons, no daughters, and I was like, yes, I understand. I'm slowly learning. I followed. So, yeah, and then throughout the rest, it was just kind of picking up like little things about questions about work and stuff. Anyway, did I understand all of it? Hell no. No, I'm not fluent in Spanish. That's one of the reasons why I still think, even if I was fluent in Spanish, I would still advocate for audio description for everything anyway, because it's an accessibility tool. It's not dubbing. Um, so this film is two people have traveled together as a couple to the American dream. They made it to America, and they didn't do it by having a bunch of like angry border people yelling at them as they're trying to cross the Rio Grande. No, they legitimately applied for a visa and made it in. And when they get here, they're flagged and pulled aside and put through a really invasive interrogation. And what I love about this film and what they've chosen to do is try to remove any sort of preconceived notion that this film is about anything other than what it is about, which is this process of getting into the country. Because you have a man and a woman. One is from Venezuela and one is originally from Spain. So they're not from the same country. Originally, she's from Spain and then met him later, and now they're immigrating together. And so it's not like we're prejudiced against just one country. It's not that either. Um, One of the guards that is speaking to them. I don't know if guards is right. One of the they're not guards. They're not in jail. One of the immigration officers um, is Latina, and is fluent, whereas I think the male that pops up is Caucasian. I got the idea that he um, was not. So they went for a mix here. So that way, when you're doing this, you don't want your whole film to feel like it's represented entirely by, uh, Latinx people, like it was made in another country. So you have to have that guy in there to give you that sort of like, welcome to America. You're really here. There's a white guy. I think that's what they did with that guy. If the cast had been like all Latinx, I don't know. I felt like it would have been saying something, but I'm not really sure what. Uh, so it wants you to focus on on the intrusiveness of the conversation and the questions that are being asked, and the fact that, and you're like, why? Like, what is it about these two? And the fact that I didn't have audio description was even, you put me even more in like the what is going on here, and why do they need to know this stuff? I was just like, what is happening in this film? Why is this okay? And I think that's what you're supposed to take away from it. So I went ahead and talked about the film anyway, because I thought it was great. My only concern with the film is I would use a little bit of a score, a little bit more of a score running through this thing. I think this film could easily benefit just from like just a really light sort of in certain moments. Not even like a whole score. It doesn't need anything bombastic, but there are just like certain moments where I felt like the the, the Dolby people were bashing me over the head with their sound effects. um, it became a little bit like, because they're in rooms, right? So these rooms don't have any natural sound of their own, so they just have like echoes. And there are times, one where he's like ruffling through a bag, he's trying to get to and it sounds so Dolby. It sounds like people have come back in and make sure that we get this sound as loud as possible, because there's nothing else to listen to except listen to this dude ruffle through his bag. And then there was another time where they were like unfolding a paper, and it was just, I was like, oh my God, this is like the most, how is this paper folded? It was just like, it's like, because it's the only thing you have to listen to anytime there is. And yeah, just even a little bit of something to just kind of bring the echo out of it, I guess, so that we're not so focused on these objects, because it really did feel like Dolby to me. It didn't feel, there's sometimes when it feels like the sound effects are just actually happening, and it feels seamless. And there are other times when it's so it's so loud, you feel like it was done in post. Like, you feel like there's no way that they got that loud of a sound of wrinkling paper, like with ambient microphone, with like an ambient microphone placed in that room. There's just no way. So yeah, it really made certain things pop in a way that that doesn't really like the actual film, the script, what it's about, the acting, all that was on point. This is a very strong film. This is the kind of film where I look at these directors, and even though I didn't remember the last names, because I don't want to be that guy that sits on IMDb during the reviews. I just want to be able to talk to you about a film. So yeah, I kind of forgot their names in between me looking at IMDb before and then clicking play. But I remembered Sebastian and Alejandro. So, this is the kind of film where if I watch it, I would want them to direct something else, like immediately. I'd want to give them like a first look deal, something like that, because I feel like since they wrote and directed this, there's something here. You know, there's a lot of talent on screen. Um, Even the cast, like this is something that they should be able to use. I don't know who any of these people are. There isn't a single person in here that I think anybody's gonna be like, oh my god, you. But yeah, it's the kind of film that I feel like these people should be able to use in their um, reels, you know, to try to go on to other things. I don't know how the Spirit Awards found this. I know it's like through submissions, but because like no critics have seen it and it's listed as 2022, and it just kind of feels like the world's smallest little movie. And I love the fact that it's nominated because I actually really enjoyed this. I didn't understand it. It needs audio description, but it doesn't have a studio. I don't think there was any like studio attachment to it. I think the film just kind of starts. I'm not even sure this film has a distributor, so that's why I feel like it's the most indie thing that I've seen. But my suggestion to any of the producers or writers or anybody who's listening to this, yeah, the blind critic with the hoodie up. You know what? I didn't know what my hair was gonna be like today, so I didn't trust it. And that's what I wear: either leave my hoodie up or put a beanie on. Um, that's all it is. Don't read too much into it. And I'm not having my 8 Mile moment. Is just audio description. Bring everybody in. Make it accessible for everybody. I obviously captioning too, but and you want to make sure that your captioning is done well and not. There are a lot of like robotic captioning services that just kind of do it now on the spot, and I don't know. I think as like a content creator, you always want to make sure that the stuff that you create is always presented in the best light. That's why I think most people in Hollywood who work in Hollywood as directors and writers and talent in general don't understand the accessibility that's then later used on their films, because if they did, I think they'd be way more invested in making sure it did have it, so that that way their film could be enjoyed. Everybody wants their art to be enjoyed. They don't want, there's never an artist standing outside being like, no, not you. You cannot enjoy my art. Like it's just, it just doesn't feel like that. It feels like art is, you make it so that people can see it. And you make a film like this so that its message can carry. And I like the message. I would love for it to have audio description. It's really hard for me to grade it because while I thematically understood a lot of it, I also did not. But I've seen a couple other films under Spirit Award consideration that I have avoided using the term unwatchable on, that did not have audio description. I'm on this interesting journey of accessibility and screeners. Like, are there no blind voters anywhere in any voting body ever? So I find that's a stretch, especially considering some of the actors and actresses that age up there and consider themselves. Judi Dench can't read a script. I'm assuming she needs some level of accessibility when watching a film, because she's talked about how her macular degeneration. Anyway, I'm in the weeds, but I liked Upon Entry, and I hope it does well. I may even vote for it if I can't remember what it's up against in certain categories, but the fact that certain films aren't submitting is not really helping their cause. I gotta be honest, if I don't know what you are, I've never heard of you, and then you're up against Upon Entry, I'm voting for Upon Entry. Like, I just submit a screener. Like, it's really not that hard. Either you want it or you don't. So thanks to the team behind Upon Entry for making their film available, and I really hope that the film gets solid distribution and that everybody gets to see Upon Entry and it doesn't just get buried somewhere, I don't know where, on what streaming service, but somebody save this movie. I'm gonna tentatively give Upon Entry an A-. I do wish it had a score to sort of help cover up a little bit of that Dolby editing, but um, just in certain moments. There is something to be said for just sitting in silence also, but that's there a little bit more, a little bit of some, just maybe like a nice little cello coming in there, you know. Uh, nothing too grand. Um, use of music, use of music. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you like my blind opinion, please click subscribe so that we can continue to talk about films and audio description and why they need them and why we should have them and all that kind of good stuff. I also have a website, macthemovieguy.com. You can follow me on Twitter, X, well, the artist formerly known as Twitter, which is now X, Threads, and Instagram. I'm Mac the Movie Guy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what does have audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That is it for me today. I will review something else and see you guys on the other side.